We spoke in part one of this Dvar Torah about 3 people who are sent back from war. They're told, don't go to war because you're in the middle of some mitzvah, you're in the middle of doing something great that you're involved in, and you're not going to be a good soldier. Either the Satan is going to be too strong against you, or you're not going to have the courage to fight because something else is going on in the back of your mind. And it gives 3 examples. Example number 1 of 3 cases. A person who built a house and didn't live in it yet. A person who planted a vineyard and didn't yet reach the 4th year where you can eat the fruit in Yerushalayim. And a person who got engaged to a woman and didn't yet marry or do the Nesu'in part just yet. Now, comes along the Gemara in Sotah. This is Daf Mem Daled Amud Aleph, and it explains the order of our Pesukim. Tano Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Asher bana, asher nata, asher eras. We learned these 3 cases: a person who built a house, a person who planted a vineyard, and a person who betrothed a woman. Limda Torah Derech Eretz. The Torah is teaching us the proper way of behavior, how to act. Shebnei Adam Bait, that a person should build a house, v'yita kerem, and then plant a vineyard, v'achar kach yisa isha, and then afterwards get married. So meaning a person should first build a home so you have a place to live, then make a kerem so you can have yourself parnasa, you can have yourself a job, v'achar kach yisa isha, and then afterwards you can get married. So build a home, get a job, and then get married. And so too Shlomo HaMelech said in his great wisdom, he says in Mishlei, Hachen b'chutz melachtecha, prepare for your work outside, and make it fit for yourself in the field, ahar uvanita beitecha, and afterwards build your house, and afterwards build your home. So what does that mean? Explains the Gemara. Hachen b'chutz melachtecha. The first part, make it fit outside for your work. What does that mean? That means ze bait, build a house. V'ateda b'sadeh lach, and then make the outside, the fields fit. Ze kerem, that's the vineyard that you plant in the field. Achar ubanita beitecha, and afterwards says, and then build your beitecha, your house. Here beitecha means zo isha. And Ben Yehoyada explains nicely that we had bait, we had chutz in the beginning. Hachen b'chutz melachtecha ze bait. Make your melacha outside, that's a house, and then beitecha means isha. How does that make sense? So it says as follows, says the Ben Yehoyada, says the Ben Ishchai. Nira li b'sat dishmaya. Mapik la metevat bachutz lashon mechitza b'chitza. It says make outside bachutz. Bachutz is language of mechitza. Mechitza are walls. Make yourselves walls. Ki abayit chotzetz bein adam hadar bo bein bnei adam ovrim v'shavim b'rshut rabim. A house is a chatzitza. It's bachutz. It makes these partitions. So it says hachen bachutz melachtecha means it's a hint. Make a place of mechitzot. Make a house to separate you from the people outside in the public domain outside. Ve'amar b'ateda basadeh, and then it says v'ateda basadeh. Ze kerem shederach kerem into basadeh. This is a kerem because you do a vineyard in the field. I saw others bring the idea of ateda is the language of atid, the future, because the way work works is that it takes time. You're going to plant, the fruit will come, then you're finally going to sell it. So it's the language of atid, of ateda. It's only going to be the profits only come afterwards. Ve'amar achar ubanita beitecha zo isha. Ki Aisha mechonet b'shem bait, because the Isha is called the house. In many places we find throughout Chazal and the Aramaic, Dvitu, you find this concept that the woman is called the house. Dichti v'chiper ba'ado v'ad beito. We also find in a pasuk ba'ad beito being a euphemism for the wife. Dekasha le'davle le'meimar achar ubanita bait belama amar beitecha. But now he says very good. And what's the hint that the beitecha bayas means Isha and not house? Because it says beitecha, your bait. לקח דרש על אישה אשר קודם ביאתם לעולם הזה היא הייתה אשתו בעולם הנשמות. He says, because what do you mean? And afterwards you're going to build your house. You didn't build your house yet. What do you mean your house? It's only your house after you build the house. So rather your house means the house that was always supposed to be yours, and that's your Isha, because even before you came into this world, in the Olam HaNeshamot, she was already your Isha. Therefore it says, and then build your house, what was always yours. What's always yours? That Neshama, your wife that was always waiting for you already from before you were born. Okay, so that's what the Ben Ishchai understands how you learn from Pesukim, but the Gemara learns first you do a bait, then you do your work, and then eventually you're going to marry your house. Okay, let's go to the next Ben Yehoyada. Let's go to another Ben Ishchai. Now, this Ben Ishchai is going to deal with the concept. When I say build a house and then do a parnasa, That's not so simple. Most of the time, at least in today's world, it's opposite. Today, you have to first get the parnasah, make the money, unless you're inheriting wealth, which I guess is the real way of the word today. So I guess bayit does come first over here through inherited wealth. But what do you mean? Sometimes you have to do a parnasah first to make enough money to then buy a bayit. So what are we talking about? Is this the right order? Is it not the right order? What's going on over here? So the Ben Ish Chai notices something. He makes a diuk in our Gemara as well as in the pasuk of Shlomo HaMelech. So it says our Gemara, Limdecha Torah Derech Eretz. The Torah taught us Derech Eretz. Sheibnei Adam Bayit v'yita kerem. First you build a house and then and the vineyard. V'achar kach yisa isha. And then afterwards marry a wife. Had nakich achar kach be'isha dafka. V'lo nakit nami b'kerem. How come it says build a house, plant a kerem, and afterwards marry a wife? It only says the word afterwards, after isha, meaning after it says the first two, it then says, and then afterwards marry an isha. It doesn't say it. It should say it twice. If this was really an exact order, it should say, build a house, and afterwards plant a vineyard, and afterwards marry a woman. But the and afterwards is only written by the third case. I mean, it says, build a house, plant a vineyard, and then afterwards. It doesn't have it before the planting of the vineyard. He says, because it comes to be that when it comes to a kerem and a house, if you do it together at the same time, the order is not so exact when it comes to the first two. I actually saw others brought down an idea that, planting a kerem until it finally produces fruit, you have 4 years, you build a house in the meantime. So it could be that you're planting first, getting that parnasah ready, and then you build the house. But now the house is complete, so it says house complete, and only afterwards the kerem, because you have to wait a couple of years for that kerem. But whatever it is, it seems to be the order of parnasah and house. Those orders can be interchangeable, and that's why it only says ach isha lo matzi dikach ela ad achar shibnei bayit v'ladur bo v'yita kerem litparnes mimenu. It's only after you have a house and have money. Once you have the first two, any order you want, then you can marry a woman so you can take care of her. And he said, so too I saw. They brought this down in the name of Maran, Shulchan Aruch of Yosef Karo. So really, where is this Maran? It's a Rambam. It's a Maran, Shulchan Aruch of Yosef Karo on the Rambam and his Kesef Mishnah commentary on the Rambam. Says the Rambam, says Maimonides in Hilchot Deot. Derech ba'alei de'ah, people of ba'alei de'ah, sheikba lo adam melacha, mefresot techila. First, get a parnasah that gives you money. V'achar kach yikne beit dira. And then afterwards, buy a house. So the Rambam's learning first parnasah, then house. V'achar kach yisa isha. And then afterwards, marry an isha, shenemar, and then he quotes our psukim of Mia isha asher ata kerem, Mia asher bana bayit, Mia asher eras isha. But he flipped the order. He put the order of the parnasah before the isha. אבל הטיפשים מתחילים נישא אישה, ואחר כך אם תמצא ידו יקנה בית, ואחר כך בסוף ימיו יחזר לבקש אומנות, או יתפרס מן הצדקה, וכן הוא בקללות. He says, and he says, the stupid people, they go out and they get married, and then only afterwards they buy a house, and afterwards they try to find parnasah, or they start looking for tzedakah. They don't try to set themselves up first. And then he brings a proof from the Klalot, that in the Klalot, the order is you get cursed by the wife, then you get cursed by the house, then you get cursed by the Parnasah, because you went in the wrong order. So you go in the wrong order, you're going to get cursed in that order that was incorrect. And do things in a more wise kind of way. Set yourself up properly for marriage. Okay, that is the Rambam. But comes along the Kesef Mishnah, Yesh li t'mora, ma shekatav, the Kesef Mishnah, the Shulchan Aruch, the Maran, he says, I don't understand. Our pasuk has Mi asher nata kerem. It talks about the vineyard after it talks about building the house. And the Rambam is opposite. He's not following the order of the Psukim. So he explains exactly our drasha that we saw in the Ben Ish Chai, that he says that since our Gemara does not have the word acharkach except when it comes to the case of Isha, so mashma de kerem batar bait lav dafka. Lav dafka, do you have to do house before parnasah or parnasah before bait? Those seem to be a little bit more interchangeable, but the Isha, that should be the last thing. And adds, he says, so too in the pasuk of Shlomo Domelech, if we go back to that pasuk of Shlomo HaMelech, we can see that there as well, because it says the pasuk, do your bachutz, do your bayit, do your kerb, lalach, achar ubanita beitecha. And it says the word achar only by the last case of getting a wife, banita beitecha. So you see in Shlomo HaMelech as well, that the first two is lav dafka, you have to follow that kind of order, but when it comes to a wife, the wife should be last. Okay, so that is the Kesef Mishnah. When it comes along the Marsha, says the Marsha in our Gemara, because I think that there's a little bit of an issue over here that it's not so simple if everybody make big parnasah. It's not so simple to build houses. Not everyone is zocheh to that. We also find a lot of times, especially in the more religious world, those learning Torah in the kolelim, they can't afford to do this kind of level right away. Says the Marsha. Lamdu Lomarkin, they taught us to teach us this Derech Eretz, to follow this order of marrying the Isha last, because marrying an Isha, Shu Davar Sheva Bechol, Umatsui. He says, because marrying, everybody wants to get married. Everyone's going to, that's the Matsui thing. Everybody gets married. Masha'en can bite, the Kol can kerem. But he says, bite at a vineyard, the Ein Kol Adam Zokedach. Not everyone's Zocheh to build a house or to plant a vineyard. Avalim Dat Torah Derech Eretz, we have Derech Eretz. Shemi Sheyesh Lo. Explains the Marsha, for he who has the ability, if you have the ability to first build a house and make a parnasah, then that's the healthiest, best way to build the family properly. So if you have that ability, you should do it this way. That's the Derech Eretz, that this will be the proper order if you can. Now in the Hagot Ya'avetz, he actually says it a little bit stronger. He says, Im yesh lo kach hu Derech Eretz shelo. If he has the ability, it's Derech Eretz. Aval, vaday lo ba katuv lemed shelo yisa ani isha. Im efshar lo. But he's saying, of course, you can't say that a poor person shouldn't get married. If you can't do it in this order, they should never get married. He meets the right woman of his dreams. She's going to work out well, the perfect shidduch. Then you just never get married. It doesn't go that. We go out there. Chazal teach other place. Go rent a house. Go rent a bed. Go figure things out. But ultimately, a person has to get married. Meaning the ikar is, of course, the marriage. Don't overread the Gemara. The Gemara is just telling you that if you have the ability, then there's a way to do it to set the marriage up for success. Build a house, make a parnasah, and then get married. But if you can't do that, you got to, of course, get married. You don't give up that mitzvah. Okay, that is the Hagaot Ya'avetz. Okay, now I want to close off with the Gemara. I want to go back to this Gemara that now learns the hints in our pasuk of Shlomo HaMelech, but it learns it in a more drash, homiletic kind of way, relating it to how to learn Torah and how to serve Hashem. Okay, says the Gemara. Davar acher, hachen bachutz belachtecha. Go and prepare your work outside. What is preparing your work outside? Ze mikra. This is studying the Chumash, studying the written Torah shebichtav. This is the Chumash. The ateda basadeh lach, and then go prepare the field outside. Ze Mishnah. This is the study of Mishnah. Achar ubanita beitech, and after you've done that, so meaning now it's teaching us an order. How should a person learn? How do you grow when you're learning? Start with the Chumash, then go to the Mishnah. Achar ubanita beitecha ze Gemara, and then afterwards it says, build your house. This is Gemara. And what is Gemara? Rashi teaches us that Gemara means latet svara lavin b'tamei Mishnah v'halacha kidivrei mi, to understand the analysis, the deliberations of who says what and how they say it. What is each person's opinion? Where does the halacha come from? The Gemara is already the deeper understanding of how to learn. Okay. That is approach number one of the Gemara. That is telling us that this pasuk can hint to us, this whole way of build a house, make a parnasah, and then get married is a way of learning Torah. Start in the beginning, in Derech Eretz. Start with the pashut, with the Torah shebichtav, then begin the Torah sheba'al peh, the Mishnah, then get to the Gemara. Okay, beautiful. Davar acher, approach number two. Now we're going to see three approaches in the Gemara that they kind of build on each other. Hachen bachutz melachtecha, prepare your work. Level one, ze mikra Mishnah. It puts level 1 and 2 in the first case as one level. Learn Mikra and Mishnah. V'ateda b'sadeh lach, level 2, ze Gemara. Ahar uvanita beitecha, and then the third level, build your house. What does your house symbolize? Elu ma'asim tovim. This is doing good deeds. Doing ma'asim tovim. We learn in mod avodat la'asot. We're learning in order to do. We make our Torah real. We actualize. We do mitzvot. So we learn, so we know what to do, how to do, understand the halacha, and then we go out there and we keep the halachot. So there, the goal over here is we learn, we understand what to do, we prepare, and then after we prepare, the Torah prepares us to actually fulfill the Torah and do the mitzvot, and that's the ultimate goal according to level number 2. The Meiri learns beautifully. He learns Elu Ma'asim Tovim. He learns a little different. What does it mean Ma'asim Tovim? That's the height. The goal is to get to Ma'asim Tovim. Ma'asim Tovim means Retzon Olamar Ma'alot Umidot. To have good midot, to have good character, elevated degrees and attributes of character, to have good character traits. That's the ultimate goal that we're trying to get to, is to improve our midot. So after we get to the Torah, we did the Mikra, we did the Mishnah, we did the Gemara, now we can begin to change our character. As they say, as the famous saying, it's easier to go through all of Shas, the whole Gemara, every page, do the Daf Yomi than it is to change one character trait. But B'ezrat Hashem, through learning Torah, we can build our character traits, build our midot, and become the best people we could possibly be. Okay, that's level number 2 in the Gemara. But then comes along Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Yossi Agrili. He says, Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Yossi Agrili Omer, Actually, before we get to them, interesting to note in the Tosefta on our Gemara, this is the Tosefta Perek Zayin section of the Yud Gimel. So it says it actually brings more levels. It gives 2 more levels before it gets to our conclusion, where there's a level of where the highest level would be to learn halachot, or where the highest level would be to learn agadot. Drashot, it seems to be going through like all of the pardes and all these words, Gemara, Agada, Drasha, Mishnah. It's not clear what exactly we're referring to. Are we referring to the books as we understand them right now? Are we learning on levels of how to learn? Maybe it's the pardes, the pshat, Rebbe, Drush, so like different levels of it. And we should learn the halacha level, the drash level, the Gemara level. But I end the Tosefta for a couple more levels. But let's learn our Gemara. Says our Gemara, and I want to focus on this last statement because this last statement we're going to have some really deep ideas. Be'ezrat Hashem. Says the Gemara. The first level, prepare your stuff outside. Zem mikra u'mishnah u'gemara. So he puts all of level 1 together into level 1 now. It's learning the Torah. It's learning the written Torah, the Chumash, the Mikra. It's learning the Mishnah. It's learning the Gemara of how to learn it, how to get to those poskim, how to get to the halachot, how to learn it properly. And now the middle level, prepare the sadeh, is ma'asim tovim, is doing good deeds or good character traits. Ahar ubanita beitecha. And what's the last level when you finally build your home? That means drosh v'kabel sachar. Drosh, learn, or we'll see what it means in a second. Drosh v'kabel sachar, and then you're going to get sachar. So what in the world does it mean? Drosh v'kabel sachar. What does this mean? What is this highest level in this final opinion? So says the Maharsha. So the Maharsha explains that all these examples from the first, second, and third, it's all telling you how to prepare yourself. You have to mechin, you have to prepare yourself when it comes to Torah. So the first opinion says, how do you actually prepare your learning itself? Start with the parasha, go to the Mishnah, and the parasha, the Mikra, is a hachana for the Mishnah, and then afterwards the Mishnah is a hachana for the Talmud. But ultimately the goal is to get to the Talmud. When you're learning, you want to get to that final level. That would be the first level. And then he says the second opinion, which tells us that we have Ma'asim Tovim. He says, no, that's the Gemar Binyan Abayit. That's the real completion of the Bnei Beitcha, because according to opinion number 2, Talmud itself is only a hachana for Ma'asim Tovim, as we lest Chazal tell us, Sha Talmud meviri de Ma'aseh. Because learning brings you to the ma'aseh. So the ultimately building of the bayit, you want to build a complete what our goals are in life. What are we trying to accomplish in serving Hashem is to do the ma'aseh. And he says in the last level that says Drosh v'kabel sachar, gam shekvar ba lichlal shebiu l'dei ma'asim tovim. Once you learn enough Torah, you know how to do it, and you're doing the ma'asim tovim, you're doing mitzvot. It says Amar Drosh v'kabel sachar bechokhma iyonit. So he learns, what does it mean Drosh v'kabel sachar? Chokhma iyonit. Now, what is Chokhmah Iyunit? So it sounds like, and I saw the art school learns it this way, but he says that it's like an in-depth knowledge of Iyun. It's like the lumdis. It's those that are learning in Gemara, trying to really understand the meanings behind all that we're learning, to really get to the depth and full understanding of the Torah, that we're really sitting there going deeper and deeper. Chokhmah Iyunit, because he says, there's one level of learning which is learning Talmud in order to know what to do. There's learning in order to do mitzvot and to not chas shalom sin. But then there's learning to really understand what the Torah says, and that already. So he says first everybody has to have a level of learning to know what to do, because we're here in this world, we have to do things. But once you've accomplished it, you know what to do, and you're actually doing it. So now it's actually to really try to understand Chokhmah Iyunit, really understand the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is how the Maharsha learns Drosh v'kabel sachar. Comes along the Ben Yehoyada. Ben Yehoyada says differently. He says, Drosh v'kabel sachar, kai alimud hasod. This is talking about learning the secrets, learning the Kabbalah. The ein bo limud leida halacha le'maaseh. He says, because it says Drosh, learn it, and then you're going to get a reward for it. But there's no ma'aseh, meaning the original Torah that we learned, the Mikra, the Mishnah, the Gemara, what's that for? To ultimately know what to do. But there's a certain level of Torah that you don't do. It's just understanding. It's just knowing how Hashem works, how the world works. Maaseh Merkabah, Maaseh Bereshit. How does Hashem run? The deeper wisdoms, the secrets of the Torah. The ein bo limud leida halacha le'maaseh ki im rak drosh v'kabel sachar. But rather, it's just you learn and then you're going to get the sachar. V'lachen karei b'shem bayit ki hu limud pnimi v'nistar. And that's why this last one is called beitecha. It's your bayit, it's your house, because a house is internal. There's a pnimi v'nistar. It's hidden. There's the walls that hide what's inside. It says you're going to get to the bayit. You're going to get to what's inside. You get to the pnimi, the hidden parts of the Torah. Gam amar. It also says kabel sachar. The Gemara also tells us you're going to get a sachar. Now he says sachar is gematria 520. Shehu mispar asara pa'amim ben, which is 10 times ben, which is son. 10 times the word ben is 52. Ben times 10 is 520. So he says besod, and this is the secret. Tov anochi lach me'asara banim. And this is in Shmuel Aleph. We have Chana can't have kids. Her husband looks at her and says, Am I not better? Am I not better than 10 banim? Am I not better than 10 boys? What is 10 boys? 10 boys is 520. 52 times 10, which is the sachar, which is the hidden part of the Torah. Okay, so that is how the Ben Ish Chai learns. Ben Yoyada, he learns that it means the Derosh v'Kabel Sachar is talking about the sodot, the secrets of the Torah. So too you find in Rav Tzadok, the Pri Tzadik. Now the Pri Tzadik is worried about, what do you mean you want to get a sachar? We don't do things for a sachar. Sachar is not in this world. Ha darshu, he says, wait, tzarich biur, we have to understand this. We learned in the Gemara, hayom la'asotam, in this world we do the mitzvot, velo hayom lekabel sachar, but rather the sachar is the world to come, it's not this word. V'mazeh doresh v'kabel sachar, but not the kabel peras. We also learn in Pirkei Avot, we don't want to serve the master the kabel peras to get a reward. So what are you talking about? You learn this and you're going to get a sachar. What are you talking about? Acha perushu, rather, this is what it is. Based on a Gemara in Berachot, olamcha tir'eh b'chayecha, that you're going to see your olam, your world, in your lifetime. Hainu da sachar atid. He says, what is the real sachar? What is it? You're going to see the olam, meaning olam haba. You're going to see your reward of the future in this word. What does that mean? What is sachar in the world to come? Hu sagat besudot Torah b'yedidat Hashem itbarach. He says that the sachar of the world to come is to learn the secrets of the Torah, to understand v'yadat Hashem v'yedidat Hashem itbarach, to really understand more depths of Hashem. And maybe zoche to get it in this world as well. The Gemara there is talking about a bracha. You should get it in this world as well. Meaning, there are certain people who are zoche. You're able to mesig the Torah. You're able to reach levels of Torah, to reach levels of certain sodot Torah, where matimin otomi prima sabalamazeh, that you're gonna be able to get a little bit of a taste already in this world of this ha'arat Torah, yediyat Hashem itbarach, this glow, this light, this little glimpse of the great light of the Torah and understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he says that's what it means. Derosh v'kabel sachar. He says you're gonna be doresh and mekabel a little bit of the sachar of olam haba, which is the sachar of the the Torah, of understanding HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the highest level we want to try to get to. Okay, that was the Pri Chadash. Now I saw a beautiful idea, the Sefer Avnei Shoham from Rav Nachum Eisenstein. Alav Shalom, the Sefer says he was a Rav in Lakewood. So there's another Rav Eisenstein, I think, in Eretz Yisrael. This is apparently Rav Eisenstein from Lakewood. It says Sefer Avnei Shoham as follows. He asked the question, he says, what are all these three different examples? We already said we have Mikra, Mishnah, and Gemara. This concept of Drosh is also talking about learning Torah. So we have Gemara, and we have Drash. Isn't that the last example of Gemara? Isn't that the same thing as Drosh? And also, why do we have the second middle level of Ma'asim Tovim between the two learning levels? And what's each level trying to add to the previous level? Venira, says the Avnei Shoham. He says we have a learning of Torah of Vahaya im Shamoa, the second paragraph of the Shema, that we're going to listen to the words of the Torah and do them. V'hu Talmud Torah the Asiyat mitzvot. We have a level of learning to do. V'hu begeder hachen, and that's a level of preparing ourselves. Da'ikar hu la'achar b'niyat beitecha. Elu ma'asim tovim, the zeu tachlit alimud, that the tachlit, the goal of our learning is to she'avol lidei ma'aseh, is in order to do. Rabbi Eliezer, Benosh Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Lomar, the Adain in Zat Tachlit. He says, no. Says Rabbi Eliezer, there's one higher level. There's a higher level. We didn't reach the end goal. Just learning Torah, and in order to be able to complete all the mitzvot, there's a higher level. And while it's true, there's a learning of Torah to do mitzvahs, Talmud Torah, the Parashat Vayayim Shamoa, which is the Talmud Torah hinted to in the second paragraph of the Shema, Mikol Makom, nevertheless, Adayin Ika Od Parasha Shel Talmud Torah. But there's another parasha of Talmud Torah, V'hu Talmud Torah, the Parashat Ve'ahavta. We have the Talmud Torah of the first paragraph of the Shema, Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, to love Hashem, B'chol levacha, b'chol nefesh, b'chol me'odecha. What kind of Torah is this? Torah l'shem Torah. Liot, this is a Torah for the sake of the Torah itself. Liot davuk b'Torah, to cling to the Torah. Ad sheyeh divrei Torah mechudadin bepicha al derech shenitba'er, until the Torah is so much in our lips. Torah shall v'dibartem bam, that when we walk on the street, v'dibartem bam, we're just going to speak these words everywhere we go. We're going to be living, talking Torah. V'lo b'davim b'telim, and we're not going to speak silly talk of dvarim b'telim. Sheyeh ikar diburecha bahem kevorei b'sifri. Torah she'blum bli shum kavana acheret. We have a Torah without any other kavanot. Therefore, the preparation, the beginning of the pasuk of Shlomo HaMelech, of the prep work, prepare the bayit, prepare the outside, the chutz, prepare the field. That's vayayim shamoah. Shehi Torah shel kiyum mitzvot. So the first level is the Torah to learn how to do mitzvot. V'achar kach ba'atada basadeh. And after we have the hachen, after we learn the Torah of how to do, we go out there, elu ma'asim tovim, we actually go do the mitzvot. Dahainu asiyat mitzvot before we do the actual mitzvahs. V'achar kach holech l'madrika yoter gavoa. Then we go to the highest level. V'hu Talmud Torah l'shem Torah. This is learning Torah for the sake of the Torah. Torah shel dvekut, a Torah dvekut b'Hashem, clinging to God. V'zeu v'achar u'banita beitecha. And that's when it says, in the end, we're going to build a house. The ikar tachlit habriyah, the ikar tachlit, the whole mission ultimately in life is to get to this level of just learning Torah for the sake of Torah. That is the Avnei Shoham. Okay, but then there's one last approach. Drosh v'kabel sachar. Now, this approach doesn't learn as drosh, as being a personal thing, but drosh, the language of to teach. Says the Ben Ish Chai now in Sefer Benayahu. He has Ben Yehoyada on the Gemara, and he has Benayahu on the Mishnayot, but he also throws in some Gemaras in Benayahu as well. So says Benayahu, the Ben Ish Chai in Sefer Benayahu. Drosh v'kabel sachar. Nirali b'sat tishmaya kavanah. He says the Ben Ish Chai, I think as follows: Be'et shata doresh, when you're out there teaching Torah, tekabel sachar al hadrasha, you're going to receive a reward for your drasha. V'hainu shakadosh baruch hu yiftach lecha ma'ayan hachokma, that Hashem is going to open up the wellsprings of chokma. Shetolid min hadrasha shata doresh, that from the drasha you're doing right now, your chokma is going to open up. The ma'ayan hachokma, the wellsprings of chokma from above are going to open up and rain down upon you. Drashot acherot hamisamchim et halev. You're going to come up with more drashot hamisamchim et halev. We're going to have ourselves, ladil Torah v'adira. You're going to be zocheh with more Torah to teach and more Torah and major siyata d'shmaya. Anybody who's ever taught Torah knows that a siyata d'shmaya comes when you teach the rabbim, you teach the people out there. Hashem gives you siyata d'shmaya. He gives you more chokhmah. Drosh, the kabel sachar, teach, and you're going to have the biggest reward ever. You're going to get more Torah. So too says the Meiri as well. Ubanita beitecha shetijrosh betagabel sachar b'tzorol lomar sheyashpia lezulato. You want to know the highest level? Says the Meiri. Says the same idea. To try to inspire and try to affect other people, to try to teach other people. Now, I want to look at the Karnei Orah, because the Karnei Orah says it in the most beautiful way possible. I actually showed this to the Rav of my shul, and the Rav of my shul said we should print this out, and anybody who teaches Torah should put this on the wall of his house. Says the Karnei Orah in our Gemara. The Gemara is teaching us 3 different levels to have menucha in the bayit. You want to have real peace of nefesh, of the timsat la nefesh Torah. If we want our soul to really feel menucha, so level 1 says when you study, build yourself in your Torah. You start with the Mikra, then the Mishnah, then the Gemara, to actually really understand how the poskim work, how the halacha works, how the Gemara works. Understand what you're learning. That's the goal to get to menucha. Then he says, no. Second opinion says, you're not going to be complete until you actually do. You actually have to have limud lechud is not enough. You have to have masim tovim as well. You got to do well. You can have them iri over. You have to have good character traits as well. Okay, beautiful. Then he says, what about the third case? Davar acher ubarita beitecha drosh v'kabel sachar. Ki od yesh ma'ala yoter gedola. There's an even higher level. Tachlit menuchat hanefesh. The highest level to have the real end goal of menuchat hanefesh, of the soul, really having tranquility. Ka'asher, what is that level? When a person will be zocheh to teach Torah to the masses, he's going to make a fruit from his Torah in order to bring life to other people's souls outside of himself, to give back, to give to the world, to prop up the rest of the world with your Torah. And then he's going to kabel beshulam. Then he's going to get complete sachar lit'aneg be'or Adonai, to be able to have oneg in the or of Hashem, the or Torato, and the light of his Torah. And our soul will cling to its source, to where it comes from. And we're going to be able to rest with real menucha, real tranquility. leshon drosh vekabel sachar. Don't ask the question that we already saw, that, what's this language of you're going to receive a reward? As if it sounds as if we're going to chas v'shalom trying to do things for the sake of a reward. Because this is not talking about somebody who tried to get a reward in this world. But rather it's the reality. And when a person reaches this level of shlemut, yekabel secharo me'elav. The reward happens on its own. Lo sachar gashmi, not a physical reward. Ela dezeh yesecharo. Rather, this will be a sachar. Dabek nafsho v'mekora v'shosha. That you're going to be able to clear nefesh. Your neshama is going to cling to the source, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the ore of the Torah. That's the sachar in this world. We aren't talking about some kind of sachar gashmi in the zman hazeh and that. No, we're talking about taking a bit of olam haba, taking a bit of it to cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, lidabek b'asher b'olam hazeh k'mo b'olam haba, hu tachlit ha-mitzvah v'sachra. He says the ultimate goal that we're trying to get to is that we can cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we can do it in this world, so we're getting a piece, we're getting a taste of the olam haba already down now. That's the sachar that comes naturally. It comes on its own. It's like a psik reisha. It has to happen. I remember hearing once from a Bavadia, they asked him a question. When I learned Torah, is learning, we're supposed to learn Torah lishma, learn Torah for the right reasons and not for the wrong reasons. So he says, does that mean I should learn the Torah that's harder for me to understand, that's more difficult, that I don't enjoy as much? Because that's really called lishma. Because if I don't enjoy the Torah that I'm learning, it's hard for me, I'm struggling, I don't like it, that's a real learning of Torah? He says, what are you talking about? If you learn Torah properly, there's always pleasure, there's always tanug. It's a psik reisha, the sweetness is there automatically. So he's saying to reach this level, you're going to come out there and teach people and bring Hashem's Torah to the world because you love the Torah so much. But it's on our lips. We can't give it away, as we saw in Avnei Shoham. We just want to go and teach and bring it to others. That's already Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh. That's the real Sachar. And closes the Karen Orah that these three levels are actually, quotes another pasuk in Tehillim that he bases it off of, but it could be like three different levels of how you're getting to the bayit. So all three all three opinions learn this at the house, but in the house itself we have levels of the house. We have the outer courtyard of the house when you first start coming in. That's getting to the level of Gemara. Then you come into the house itself, into the more ikar of the house, and that's the Ma'asim Tovim. But ultimately, once you have that house, the real ta'anug is in the Cheder HaPnimi, in the innermost chambers. You're going to go inside over there, and that's going to be the level of Derosh, the level of teaching others, or as we saw in the other opinions, the level of learning Torah Lishma, the level of learning the Sadot, the level of learning the Iyun, all the different opinions. That's going to be the more Pnimi level of the Bayit. Okay, one last idea I was thinking, Lanutati, maybe we can say, this old drasha is going on the Bayit, but the Pshat drasha of Bayit that the Gemara is learning, the first level of Derech Eretz that it's learning, is that it all refers to an Isha. So we're taking this concept of Isha, and then we take it onto the concept of Torah. And we know Esher Chal Mitzah, one of the main opinions, Esher Chal is referring to the Torah. We refer to Torah as our wife. So I was thinking that maybe these three levels as well, or these three great levels, are also seen in the mashal of the wife. Because first off, we have ourselves that you have the level of Gemara. What's the level of Gemara? That a man has to understand that until he actually gets married, till he has the Isha, he doesn't really understand the world. He doesn't really understand life. He doesn't really understand the Torah. That's what they say. If you ever want to get to the deeper levels of Torah, you have to be married first before you get to that kind of level. There's a certain level of understanding, of life understanding, a person only gets when he's married. So the Isha will give you that real understanding of the Gemara. You really want to understand the Gemara, you really want to you have to make it to be an Avrech and a Kolel, you have an Isha that'll open your eyes to real depth of the world and understanding, which will then give you the opportunity to really learn Gemara properly. But then the next level is that Isha will bring you to the level of Maaseh, that once you're married, now you have to actually actualize the Torah. Now you have your own home. You're not living off the yeshiva and the yeshiva's chadar ochel. You have to actually take care of yourself. There's the famous joke. It's not really a joke. It's really reality that the Sem girl, when she's going on dates, she knows more about the laws of practical kashrut because they've taught her the laws of practical kashrut of Shabbat much more than the yeshiva guy that she's dating because he's busy learning the depths of Gemara and understand Rashi, Tosfos. But practically, how do you actually make the food on Shabbat? How do you actually cook properly? How do you keep a kosher kitchen? She knows much better. The Maaseh comes to the husband much more after the Isha. So the Isha is going to teach you, is going to bring you to the level of the Maaseh, is going to push you to the level of the Maaseh. So level 2, Maasim Tovim, only comes to the Isha. And then the final level of Drosh V'Kabel Sachar, this we spoke about the Perot, of bringing our Torah to the other people, to the future generations. It's only through the Isha that we can then bring our Perot to the world, really, really become this super powerhouse of teaching the world. Avram teaches the men, Sarah teaches the women, but ultimately bring the children into the world. And now the children, literally, but also children spiritually of the Torah and the Perot, the real Perot, to really be a Doresh, is only going to come to the Koach of the Isha. Shabbat Shalom.